and welcome back to another episode of Multi-Tech Spec. And today we're going to be looking at Fog as well as Windows Server 2012, specifically Ubuntu 13.04. What we're going to do now is we're going to install Active Directory. Okay, so just click next on all that, and we want Active Directory domain services. This will promote the server to an Active Directory. So for instance, like a domain, so if you have www.com in that sort of format. So let's click next. Next on this, that's fine as well. And then restart the server automatically. We really want to restart the server automatically because sometimes when the server is installing things, it needs to restart because it doesn't install the actual component correctly. So by having this ticked, this allows us to make sure that there's a higher success in installing the module. Okay, let's click install. And I would also like to say that there's an export configuration settings option which can be run directly from PowerShell, but at the moment I don't know exactly how to run them. Once I do, I shall make a video in the future to make the configuration slightly easier. But for now, I shall focus on the actual Active Directory install via the GUI. Okay. As you can see, the installation has finished, and what I shall now do is click on the promote this server to a domain controller. And what this does, it allows the server to manage programs as well as settings for users that may log into a terminal. So a terminal in this case would be the computer. Okay? So when you log on, for example, in an enterprise environment, you would normally have a credential. So for example, you would normally say something like students-bob, and then you would have an account number. Yeah, you would have an account number. So an account number, for example, as S1261473, for example. And that code would link back to the Active Directory server to say, okay, this user is authenticated for our administration. And that's, in a nutshell, what it does. That's the seeing of what it does. There's a lot more in the background, for example, in terms of configuration and group policy and all that kind of thing. But essentially, what it's doing is running the program, if you like, from Windows Server 2008 called DC Promo, which does exactly the same thing. So let's click on Promote the Server to Domain Controller, and let's call it what we want. So for example, cloud.com. It always needs to have some kind of domain, so top-level domain. So you just call it whatever you want .com, for example, and then just click Enter or Next. Now that will create a new forest for us. So we just need to create a password now. We'll see if it creates the actual DNS server, the DNS delegations. If it doesn't, that's not a problem, but as long as it doesn't give us an error message, it's fine. Okay, it seems to have gone through okay. So let's type our password in. Click Next. Okay, DNS delegation could not be created because of the authoritative parent zone. That's fine. That's what we were expecting. Let's click Next. Cloud, yep, that's fine. Let's click Next. The NetBIOS will tell you what name you have. So if I just go back for a second, it will just say Cloud. So it just makes a little name, if you will, for the actual NetBIOS. Whatever you type into your domain will become your NetBIOS domain name, if that makes sense. So if you remember correctly, I typed in cloud.com, and my NetBIOS name is now Cloud, which makes sense. Click Next. Paths, fine. Don't need to do anything about the paths. Again, you can see the PowerShell script that it will make. So in my case, it's this. I will save this. It's always good to save templates. I'll try to put that on the desktop. So that's the Active Directory domain services. So this is the Active Directory domain services script. So all the prerequisite checks are okay. There are a few problems, well, a few warnings even on the actual server relating to IPv6, but we're not using IPv6 infrastructure, and the DNS server cannot be created because of the authoritative parent zone. Let's click Install. Okay, so the computer is now restarting. Once I've clicked Close, So I shall press close. And it's restarting for us just now. Okay. Okay. I'd also like to say I have guest additions enabled on this virtual computer. And I will also be making alterations to the network interface card attached to the virtual computer. I'll show you how to do that in a minute once it's loaded up. Okay, so I will now sign into the machine itself. Just go to Machine, Insert Critical Alt Delete, and that will allow you to log into the machine. See, and as you can see, it says Cloud and Administrator. So that's linking back to my account and the server that I'm logging into. Okay, it appears that we have a network error. So I shall attempt to diagnose this problem by right-clicking on the actual problem, and then I shall click Troubleshoot Problems. Okay, so it's not detecting a problem. Let's see. Oh, it's corrected itself. Oh well. Okay, so what we need to do now is change the settings on the network adapter. So if you just hover down to this icon down here, and if you just right-click on the icon, then you will be presented with this menu. And what you need to do is go down to promiscuous mode and click Allow All. And this will allow it to establish a connection between Windows Server and Linux. Okay, so now what we will do is point the mouse cursor to this little side here, okay, just bottom right hand corner. And as you can see, there are three little options here. Okay, Search, Start, and Settings. We will click on Start, and then we will click on Computer, Network, turn on the devices, Network and Sharing Center, change adapter settings. We will right click on the adapter itself, Properties, Internet Protocol version 4, Properties, and as you can see, the preferred DNS server is now itself the 127.0.0.1 address, the Class A address, the there's no place like 127.0.0.1 address. Okay, maybe that was a bit extreme, but what I'm trying to say is that the computer is now looping back on itself. It's saying, okay, I understand I'm a DNS server. You've given me this address, and you're telling me that you want to point back to myself because I am the DNS server. So that's what that address means. That's a very good sign for this configuration. So as for the IP address, we need to make it static, okay? Because Windows complained, remember? It's saying that, oh, I've got this thing called DHCP. What the frick is this? Okay, but don't panic, Windows. It's okay. There's moderators out there. So let's click on PowerShell icon, which was that one over there. Left click on that. And now let's type that famous command in, ipconfig. So our address is 33 and our default gateway is 01. If you don't have this information available to you, then you may have a different configuration, and the one that I am using is the bridged adapter. Cable connected and a promiscuous mode of allow all. Okay? Okay. So what we need to do now is type in these credentials. So if we go back to that window, we'll type these credentials in. 33. And now we will type in the gateway. The DNS server we shall leave. Do not alter that setting for the moment, because that's fine. That's exactly the same as typing in the IP address of the actual server. Okay, so that's 192.168.0.33. For some reason it works. It's looping back on itself. Click close. And now to verify that it does work. Let's troubleshoot that problem again. Okay, that's that done. It's configured itself. Don't know why that came up, but never mind. We will now go to the desktop, go down here, Start, Internet Explorer. And because this is bridged, we should be allowed to surf. Okay, I don't really care, but okay. If you do get that error message, just click on OK. So if we go to a site, for example, google.com, just click Add, Close. See, Google. We can now close all the windows. And for my next trick, I will now go down to the server manager, which is this button down here. Add roles and features. Next. 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 And install the Dhcp server. Click Add Features. Don't need to worry about the settings. Click Next. Let's click Next. Let's click Next. Restart the destination server automatically. Yes. Install. The next thing that we need to do now is complete DHCP configuration. So just click on this link, click Next, commit, and that's all done. So what we need to do now is go to the DHCP tab, click on that, and that will open up the DHCP Server Management Console. Right click on the highlighted server in the servers panel and left click on DHCP Manager. Expand the window and click on the server itself, IP version 4. We need to click on Server Options, More Actions, Configure Options, and if you go down, there will be .66 and .67. These are the options that we need. .66 is the Linux IP address. So the Linux server IP address. Don't worry about not knowing the IP address of the Linux server because my script covers that. You will see that it opens it up in a different mode and you will be presented with your IP address, which is presented on the top. That will be coming in part 2 of this series. But for the meantime, 067, we can type the command pxe linux.0. Click apply and OK for now. So that's it for this part of the series. Join me again next time for part 2 of the series where we will be linking Linux Fog server to this server. Okay, so I'm MultiTechSpec. I will see you again soon. Hello and welcome back. And in this part of the tutorial, I will be setting up the Fog server. So the first thing I will do is log in. After you've installed it, just log in, like so. And I shall now type the following commands. Sudo apt-get update updates the server which we're building at the moment. So this will go onto the internet and find available updates from the Linux server. Sudo is just a command which says I am the administrator. Okay, so we will run a different command this time called upgrade, which just upgrades the server. Put some new binaries in, some new information. Now that that's done, I shall now type the command sudo apt-get install Ubuntu -desktop. And what this does is it gets the Ubuntu desktop from the internet and downloads it onto the server, so that way we have a nice GUI to work with. Okay, just click Y, go to the internet, download the image, and we'll be on our way. Now that the desktop component has been installed in Linux, we will now restart the machine. So to do that, we need to say sudo reboot, and it will now reboot the server. Let's click OK on that. Okay, as you can see, a nice clean looking interface. Let's type the password that we want in. Okay, seems to have loaded up. So let's click on this little icon here, and we want to type in terminal. Okay, like so. And now we want to go back to the desktop, and you want to download my script, which will look like that. 32 script file. It's just a fog underscore 0.32 script.sh. There will be a link in the description as well as inside this video. I'll put that up as soon as possible. Going back to VirtualBox, we'll go to Linux, and we will keep this window open. Okay, yes, we just need to make a shared folder. So if you just right click, new folder, name it whatever you want. Then we need to go to BrowseNet, and then the PC in which you have the script on, which in this case is that for me. And look for the file which is shared, which in this case is this one. I'm assuming that you will know how to share in this video. Control C, Control V into the environment. Exit that and go back to the terminal window. Now we need to type the following code, which is ls. ls means list, which lists out all the different documents that are available. So in other words, the document folders, the directories. And now we just need to say cd and desktop exactly the way it's spelt with a capital from the ls command. And that means change directory. So press enter. And we need to do an ls again. What we need to do now is just set the write permission for our script, which is chmod space plus x space the name of the file, which is fog underscore 0.32 script. Okay, so that's now made the write permission for the script. So now it's typed in the command to run the script, which is vat-fog underscore 0.32 script. Like that. So just that little command there, and that will now run the script. Okay, so now just type your password in. And as you can see, the script that I've created automatically gives you your IP address. So in this case it's .34, and if I just switch to the machine and let that do its job, back to the Windows Server 2012 machine, go back to the DHCP window and number 66 and type in the command. So I've just left it open, but if you need to go back to it, click on this little icon here, which is the server manager, click on DHCP, then right click on it, DHCP manager, click inside there, and click on server options, and you'll see the two files there. Just click on that and it gives you back to the same window. Okay, so that takes you back to that window, and all you need to do is just type the IP address of the Linux server, which in this case is 34. Click apply and OK. Okay, so now all we need to do is leave this on, go back to our Linux server, wait for it to finish, and as you can see, it opens up quite nicely, in fact. So what we need to do now is set it up. So we have Ubuntu, which is 2. Let's click enter. Normal server. That's the IP address. Would you like to set up a router address for the DHCP server? No. Would you like to set up a DNS address for the DHCP server? Client? No. Would you like to change the default network interface from F0? No. Would you like to use the fog server for DHCP services? No. That's been done already. And now it should come up with a message. Okay, so there's one internalization. That could be a problem. I don't know at this moment in time because I found a way to get past that. Why? But I don't know if it works entirely. So I'm just going to type even Y. Okay, so that's going to install the MySQL server. Just click enter. Okay, so we'll just type my password in again. Okay, so my script has now gone into the MySQL file that we need to modify. Okay, go down to line 5328. So when that hits 28, press the insert key and your password. Then press escape. Then type :WQ, which means write quit. Enter. And you will be presented with this UDP failure, which is okay, but you shouldn't get it. But for some reason I can't get rid of that. If anybody does know how to get rid of that, would be grateful. But at the moment I haven't figured out how to do it on Windows Server 2012. In Windows Server 2008 it did it by itself, but I assume that the problem lies within the DHCP setup, because we can't set up DNS delegations like we could in Windows Server 2008. Also, the reverse lookup zone isn't found in Windows Server 2012 for some reason, although a forward lookup zone is created even though there is an Active Directory. Another reason that there could be a problem is when we click into the DHCP server, 003 and 015 aren't in the DHCP, so I'm assuming that there might be a problem with that, but I would assume also that Windows Server 2012 would make those necessary adjustments. In other words, it would be in the server policies, but unfortunately it's not. So what I will do now is I will go to Windows Server 2012 and I shall bring up the menu. So in other words, this menu, click Start, Internet Explorer, and I shall now type in the IP address of the Linux server. And as you can see, it says it works. But this is not what we want. This is just the This is just a HTML page from Apache. It means nothing to us. So to get past this problem, I've done this: fog/management. And as you can see, you now have the fog server. It's right there in front of you. So now all you need to do is click Install Upgrade Now. Click Yes. The install was successful. Log in with the credentials, which I shall find in a minute. Okay, so the username is fog and the password is password. Click Login. Okay, so we have task management, fog configuration, printer management, snap-in, auto generation, image management, group members, host, ECT. So let's just double check that that works. And as you can see, it works pretty well. It's just that in Internet Explorer, the settings don't allow it to display certain types of information. So for example, you can see the bandwidth meter down there, the imaging, and as well as the system activity. So that's how you install fog. I'm MultiTechSpec. Thank you for watching.